Hello everyone and welcome back to the Refresh Step, where you recover yourself for the main step. I'm your host for today, tomorrow, and the foreseeable future, Theodore Lu. And you are stuck with me today because if you are listening to this, I will probably already be in the Netherlands for the Battle Spirit Saga Grand Open. And yeah, my partner Ayumu is supposed to be here, but as you know, he is from the UK, so he is currently he needs the time to prepare to go here. Unfortunately, I'm the only one crazy enough to do this while he is to do this in my cupboard while he is busy preparing. So I invited my other crazy friend who also in the midst of his preparation wanted to decided that it's a good idea to come over and talk together. So hello again, Wilson. Long time no see in the podcast.
Hello, glad to be back.
Yay. So yeah, last time we welcomed Wilson as a guest, but what we are trying to do here is basically just like with Amamiya. Wilson will basically be quote unquote helping us in the future to make some contents, especially with battle spirits. So yeah, that's why we are doing this. Although if you are listening to this via Spotify or like all the audio platform, you might not know that we are actually doing like a YouTube channel called The Time Gaming, which we do contents mostly for Battle Spirits and Battle Spirit Saga. So yeah, we are trying to balance the two more now that I am moving to Germany and Ayumu is playing Saga more. So yeah, we are trying to somewhat balance that by asking someone who still lives in Asia, and yeah, we'll play Battle Spirits more. Yeah, I think
Oh,
yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. But I think this week is really is going to be really busy. Then next week as well, because this weekend not only we have the Battle Spirit Saga Grand Open in the Netherlands, we are also going to have the Battle Spirits national championship qualifier, the first one for Indonesia. So for wave one, I think there's only one qualifier so far, and we are going to have them also this weekend. So yeah, I guess you are also busy preparing with one of our friends, right? Your good friend.
oh, oh yeah, with Farhan. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's actually a bit. We've been talking about his preparation for
Mm-mm.
Indonesia qualifier as well.
Mm-mm.
Uh, but so we have been practicing like I think after around 12, somewhere between 12 to 2, but it's not too frequent. It's more like it's more like I wanted to test something and then he happened need someone to test as well and then we go back and forth.
Mm-mm.
Uh yeah, this I by the moment I think we how do I say this? Uh
So
it's a
you.
bit hard to prepare for the current meta.
Mm-mm. Ah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think.
I see. As I thought you are especially like doing like because the way you guys met, right? This was in Hong Kong for the 3v3 championship, right? So I thought you guys were like now having like a brotherhood of champions. So now that we won once, we have to won again. Like yeah. Now that I mentioned that also like when you guys won the last time the nationals when we don't have the world championship where we have the Asia exhibition match instead. So actually you guys
Mhm.
also won together, right?
Oh yeah, that was the same year that we won together.
Mm-mm.
After the 3v3 and then the 1v1.
Mm-mm.
Then we met again last year. Not last year. I mean technically it is last year. But we met again this year
Mm-mm.
for the Asia exhibition match. And
Mm-mm.
it was a wow, right? Because we were all quite familiar with each other.
Mm-mm.
So everything was like there was no barrier between us, so we just hang out like as we usually do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, actually, have we talked about the Asia exhibition match last time? No, right?
Did
Or
we?
was it?
Um,
Like last time, I think it's when you just won the championship itself, right? Not.
Oh yeah, I think it was just the championship itself.
Mm-mm.
But I think I never really covered the Asia exhibition experience.
Yeah. So how was it? Because I think it's a pretty unique, right? Especially since for us, the countries that are handled by the World of Cards, they just gathered us in Singapore, and then so basically the Asia exhibition match is an online tournament, right? So online tournament, but you to qualify there, you have to represent your country. You have to won the championship in your country, and then you will be invited there. And then since World of Cards is based in Singapore, Wilson and as the Malaysian representative or the Singaporean representative according to Bandai, and Farhan as the Indonesian representative are invited to Singapore to do their matches there. So yeah.
Yeah, that was the initial idea. But back then when we won the championship, I actually did not know that it was gonna be a Asia exhibition match.
Mm-mm.
Initially, I thought we are gonna have either maybe somewhere between Hong Kong, Singapore, or Japan,
Mm-mm.
to play in the not national final, but more like the world's final.
Mm-mm.
But then afterwards, I was only told that we are gonna have an Asia exhibition, simply because COVID is still around. I
Mm-mm.
think during that year is like the when COVID restriction got lifted slightly,
Mm-mm.
it's like the precaution against COVID just got lighter. But I think they still take precaution against COVID.
Mm-mm.
Therefore, they do not do any world's gathering during that year. I think
Yeah.
starting this year onwards, they've been pushing very hard with the cycle one. In Japan region, there's a lot of players competing in each of the prefectures.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's definitely a good change. I assume this year is also gonna be somewhat like a world, but it's probably something like an Asia Championship as well.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, where representative will represent each country and still fight against each other. I think they still do it the same way, but this time you're gonna play offline.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yep.
Because I think like the tricky part about Asia Championship, right? Because especially with games that are in Japanese, most likely the countries that adopt them will most likely be in Asia. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't think like for I mean like my experience with like an Asia level championship is with Vanguard, right? I think they
Mm-hmm.
already like covered every single country that like have Japanese Vanguard distributed in them. So I guess like technically I am still third best Vanguard player for in the world for the Japanese Vanguard in 2015, right? Kind of,
I know.
kind of. Hehe. But I think it's yeah like I think like for me as well like because there was no prior kind of like announcement. I thought like there will be no world finals actually. Like I thought okay, so yeah, I think they are with all the limitations they are still trying to kind of restart the whole championship. But of course, since there's COVID, there's limitations, so they cannot do the world championship. So even the news of the Asia exhibition match is a little bit. I think they announced it like pretty closely to the event itself. I think 1 month prior. Suddenly, I think in Extreme Game or something, they just suddenly say, okay, so next month we will have like an Asia exhibition match where the representative of Japan will be playing against a representative of all other countries that has battle periods. So it's like, huh?
Yeah, it was kind of in a rush actually. Apparently there's also the Action Games staff was also competing in the Asia Championship exhibition as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, initially we just kind of thought it was like representative gonna fight against representative, makes it like a world.
Mm-mm.
But then having exhibition, having the staff inside is kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. Then they really want to just make it like a show, kind of like
Mm-mm.
a show match, between each representative. Yeah, that's pretty cool as well.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I
But
think.
what was the
Mm-mm.
biggest problem, in my opinion, was that I have to submit a deck list
Mm-mm.
for Asia Championship, the exhibitions,
Mm-mm.
uh just one day after I won the championship.
Ah.
Yeah, therefore I don't really have time to prepare, and I
Mm-mm.
don't have any backup decks with me during that time, so I forced to use the same decks. And what's even worse is that because I'm outside of Japan,
Mm-mm.
I wasn't allowed to use cards that only exclusively printed in Japan, such as the promo from Connected Battlers, the
Mm-mm.
Ice Princess cards that allows you to add the attack steps.
So you
Those
could.
exclusive cards kind of make some can make some tricky plays.
Mm-mm.
But I was told that I wasn't allowed to use it because I'm outside of Japan.
But I have them.
Yeah, but I have them.
Yeah.
But I'm playing against. But how does it work? I'm playing against a Japanese player in Japan, and if they have those cards, are they allowed to use it?
That's
Yeah,
actually a
that's kind
really
of
good
weird.
question.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But well, that's probably just like I think it's just the normal problem of their promos not distributed outside of Japan.
Mm-mm.
Therefore they don't allow the use of it. To keep the fair play in check.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, I think like the fair play in check is a little bit kind of like a really hard thing to try to portray. Like, yeah, it is fair until we have the cards.
Yep, yep. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't make that much of a difference technically, but it maybe it just feels very weird. It's like, oh, okay, I'm playing it worse. Oh, I
Mm-mm.
can't use this card. And like, okay,
Okay.
well, what is my options now? I was given one day to tune my decks against the representative from each country. So I
Mm-mm.
actually have to look through all of them one by one,
Mm-mm.
and then decide on what type of card I need to bring.
Mm-mm.
Then then afterwards, once I submitted my deck list, I was told that I couldn't use the card that I needed to.
No.
Yeah, and then I had to make a very quick adjustment,
Mm-mm.
and then I resubmitted the deck list again. So
Uh,
the experience was kind of weird, but yeah,
mm-mm.
it's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean like in the end you like how does the process go? I think you just come to their office and then is there some kind of ceremony or something like because I think the part that they show us is basically like kind of like a condensed matches of the top eight kind of top four
Ah,
top eight.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't really show. They didn't really show even the highlight for the games that we play.
Mm-mm.
They mostly entirely focus on the games. I think even for the extreme game stuff,
Mm-mm.
they also don't get to show off some of their highlights in like the first match. I
Mm-mm.
think they really just try to focus on the top eight match. I think it's top four or top eight matches. I think it's top four.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they showcase the top four matches all the way to the final.
Mm-mm.
And then I feel like that's kind of sucks, you know. Like everyone here represent to play, but at the end of the day, they don't really get like a short highlight of what they play against each other as well. So that's kind of
Mm.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah, now that is a good food for thought because I was also thinking like what can I do for PSS although to be fair like unlike with the Indonesian like the Indonesian championship stuff kind of have strings to pull from behind to get the footages not as much here. I'm trying to work on that but yeah, I
Well,
mean like even if I happen to be able to get the footages like how can we make it interesting, not just like okay, so here are the two people, I'm going to mute the audio, just enjoy the match kind of thing. I think.
yeah, I think is oh wait am I cut? Am I cut? No, no, okay. Yeah, I thought I got disconnected just
Okay.
now. Uh, I think is at the end of the day, I guess it's a video.
Mm-mm,
Like when you're getting a footage of tournament matches, right?
mm-mm,
I think at best what you can make it interesting is probably just like uh edit. I think or either you do a commentary over the fight,
mm-mm,
post commentary.
mm-mm,
Oh yeah, but I don't think there's much needed to be done. for the matches for the VODs because well, it's mostly for the players that they are looking to play the game, right? So they
Mm-mm.
probably know what most of the players are doing,
Mm-mm.
usually using it as a reference. It's a
Yeah.
bit different from like those esport matches where you already had a commentary going on.
Mm-mm.
So it's kind of, yeah, I mean, if you want to add some spice, I guess you can probably do a post commentary over the videos. That's about it.
Yeah, because I think like that's also like I think something that we need to kind of change a little bit. Like I think because we always assume that people who wants to not assume, I think like we kind of like have this, how to say, like this mm, pessimism that only people who want to know about Battle Spirits will watch Battle Spirits videos, right? But like who knows? I
Um,
mean like
I get what. Oh, okay. I get where you're
yeah,
coming from.
yeah,
You
yeah,
really
yeah.
want to
I mean like
open up benefits to the public. You
yeah,
have to make it appealing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean
Yeah, I
like I
mean,
think yeah.
that's actually a very valid point. But card games in general is not too easy to appeal to the wide audience, I guess. I think
Mm-mm,
at most what you can really do is you just explain each of the things individually.
mm-mm,
Because the problem with matches, maybe let's use matches as an example.
mm-mm,
The problem with matches is that not all players can recognize the card on reflex. So
mm-mm,
if you play certain things or you do certain things, people may or may not know what they are doing.
mm-mm,
Probably having like a card info right beside the cards, having those information available to you, it makes much easier for you to digest the video.
mm-mm,
Yeah. Yeah, but I think nonetheless, because those videos are mostly for high level competitive play,
mm-mm,
it's better to have someone to break down the gameplay
mm-mm,
or talk about the game plan for each of the decks.
mm-mm,
So that the general audience will understand the context of what is this match, what's the match is going on, like
mm.
what's happening, what are they doing, etc. etc.
Yeah, it's like also like the interesting thing about post game commentary, like because I never did it, right? Because in my mind, kind of like, do you think like there is like an advantage if we see the footage in like a fresh perspective, like you never saw the footage before, like so the even if it's recorded, the moment that you commentate is the first time you watch the footage.
Uh, I mean, yeah, yeah, you can do that. I guess either way works. Depending on how you want to do it.
Mm-mm,
Like, let's say, for example, if depends on what your goal is, I guess.
mm-mm,
If you because if you try to commentate it fresh, right?
mm-mm,
With all the things going on, it's pretty hard to keep let's say I will say it's pretty hard to keep track of what's happening, especially we know prior informations. You already have the footage, like you already have this particular footage.
mm-mm,
uh you may or may not be able to cover everything,
mm-mm,
and yeah, that's fine. But if you're just looking for in terms of entertainment value,
mm-mm,
I would say post commentary is a bit different because you have gone through the video a few times.
mm-mm,
Then that way you're able to do a much more thorough analysis in terms of gameplay. But that's
mm-mm,
like a different type of category. You're breaking down the plays that players are making, and then you're also explaining the plays they are making, and also you're offering alternative solutions,
mm-mm,
or maybe just different ways to start a discussion among the community.
mm-mm.
Yeah, I guess that's how you would go with it. It depends on your goal. Actually, it doesn't really matter what's the method. I guess whichever works for you.
Yeah, I think because my like personally for me like as a content creator was to not forget that who we are. Although mostly now we don't really make that much because I'm finishing my thesis by next month, so hopefully that means from October onwards we should be somewhat more free. But yeah, anyway, what I want to achieve is more to make it more consumable, I guess, for people who don't play the game because I think like I always feel like there's like this kind of notion that if we wanted to get more players for a new game, then we kind of have to like invite people who already plays like another card game to either invest in this game fully or to kind of like adopt this game as their second game kind of thing. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh. So you're oh yeah. I mean there you're talking about not having proper new blood for the games. Like the person just jump into Battle Spray because they heard about Battle Spray and they have not tried any other given card games.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to achieve that kind of market.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean
Mm-mm.
that's I believe that's definitely possible. But
Mm-mm.
well, coming from my perspective,
Mm-mm.
from my understanding that trading card game itself is like pretty expensive,
Mm-mm.
and the context of spending, especially in Malaysia, Malaysian
Mm-mm.
ringgit currency is actually not really that strong.
Yeah.
Our minimum wage couldn't even cover half a carton
Mm-mm.
for, let's say, the spirits.
Mm-mm.
Uh, yeah, probably they can. I mean, I might be exaggerating it. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, yeah, probably around half carton.
Mm-mm.
Whereas maybe let's say somewhere around the US,
Mm-mm.
I'm not sure how much people over there make, but I'm sure they are able to afford maybe let's say half case,
Mm-mm.
with still leftover monies to go around, I guess.
Mm-mm.
That depends on the price of the box. Uh, I'm not too sure about that. I'm not really an expert in this particular context. So correct me if I'm wrong, but if the price is not really adjusted
Mm-mm.
accordingly in each of the regions, you should be able to afford more than a half carton in just a USD currency.
In
Uh,
every month.
and yeah, and based on that context,
Mm-mm.
which may or may not be true,
Mm-mm.
to compare it back to Malaysia,
Mm-mm.
we it's hard to justify that. How are you supposed to justify someone that you're going to spend this much for a card game?
Mm-mm.
And then therefore there will be some arguments that say that, oh, you don't have to spend so much for a card game. Not everything has to be expensive. You don't have to be meta slave or whatsoever.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely truth in it. Like the expensive cards, and those uh, are definitely like the way to go.
Mm-mm.
But it also depends on your environment, I guess. Like,
Mm-mm.
is your locals embracing the casual environment, like the
Mm-mm.
casual culture? Uh, well, I'm not too sure. I mean, Asia people in generally is very competitive.
Mm-mm.
In terms of whatever they do.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I I'm not too sure if losing in a casual game is something they will enjoy doing it. Sometimes it's like, oh, people are not playing in the even level playing field, and then you just get trashed because you don't have cards that you probably need,
Mm-mm.
and plus it lessen your drive to continue to play the game because you know that you couldn't be able to reach to that particular level because you are stopped by the barrier of resource.
Mm-mm.
You don't have the right resource of card pool to be able to play against the opponent. It's very similar to those free to play and pay to win games. I mean, trading card game is definitely one of those model as well.
Mm-mm.
But coming back into it, it's also very hard to justify to, like, let's say parents, people just want to start a new games,
Mm-mm.
especially outside of Japan where the card game is in Japanese and there's like no English. I won't
Mm-mm.
say translation, but it's more like English localization planning
Yeah.
for any sort of games. It makes it very hard for players to just try to get into it because if you look at the card and it's in Japanese, the first thing you probably do is you leave it on the table and
Mm-mm.
just walk away. Or you play something like Magic the Gathering,
Yeah.
Pokemon, or maybe even Kappa Vanguard that is in
Yeah.
English or Bahasa version.
The bahasa, yeah,
Uh,
the
that
bahasa one.
that you can actually read,
Mm-mm.
and that makes a whole world of difference.
Mm-mm.
And people can just go and argue and say, why don't you just read translation?
Mm-mm.
Make translation for all these games. But well, the counter argument is you need to learn the language, right? And
Mm-mm.
and to learn the language, you have to start from somewhere.
Mm-mm.
You don't have to necessarily master the language, but it's gonna take time.
Yeah.
And then when you do, your love for the games is gonna carry you very far because you know
Mm-mm.
the language.
Yeah.
But is one person going to be able to do all that? It's very taxing. on your end as well. It's like, oh, I need to learn this language so I can do translation for people that may or may not give a shit about what I do. And after that, they're gonna demand more in the end, and eventually everything is gonna break down. I mean, I'm looking at things at a very negative side here, because I have been on this end, and it's pretty sad.
Yeah. I mean, like you are
Yeah.
literally like the industry person right now.
Not really,
Yeah.
not really. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't translate.
Mm-hmm.
Like for context, I'm not a translator. I don't know jack. I don't know a single shit about learning Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
I but I really appreciate all those people that really put the time and effort to translate
Mm-hmm.
cards and effects, even their lore, their flavor text, all those things without asking for anything in return.
Yeah.
And like to have those people that says, oh, your translation is not accurate, your yada yada not accurate, blah 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 blah, whatever, it kind of pisses me off. It's like you want to play the game.
Mm-mm.
You don't go all your way to learn the language, and now you're shitting on someone else's translation because you found out that it's not accurate enough.
Mm-mm.
And it's like, I mean, yeah, there are two sides of coin for this kind of thing, but it kind of hurt me. Like at
Mm-mm.
most, even for me when I play new games, like maybe I try out games like Unit Arena during that time.
Mm-mm.
I had to use Google Translate
Mm-mm.
and like Google Lens to just read the effect and kind of understand what does the card actually does.
Mm-mm.
And a bit tedious, but hey, that's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, then having a translator really increase the quality of like the knowledge of your games outside of Japan. Like
Mm-mm.
you can just look at the card and then you know what it does because you have read the translation elsewhere and it's like correct, it's been created. You don't have to worry about anything here and there.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's definitely the strength of having a community translator,
Mm-mm.
to help drive your games. Because they are the number one contributing, in my opinion, the number one contributing factor in any Japanese card game outside of Japan. Because
Mm-mm.
if you can't read shit, you can't play shit.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna go on a bit like a rant,
Mm-mm.
but I do appreciate the work people put in. Especially for Battle Spray or any card game in general, even like Duel Masters, Yu-Gi-Oh,
Mm-mm.
all those games. The reason why people love those games, and
Mm-mm.
that's why they put in the work to translate the game, make it much more available, publicly available for other people that wanted to join.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Ah. Yeah.
It's an eye-opener. Initially,
Mm-mm.
I haven't really thought about it,
Mm-mm.
but after my years of playing card game, I was like, because World of Cards themselves do translation errors sometimes from time to time.
Mm-mm.
Uh, Maybe because they have to handle a big volume of cards and they might miss out something, yada yada yada.
Mm-mm.
But at the same time, you will just sit down and think to yourself, these people put in a lot of time to
Mm-mm.
translate the cards that's made ready available for you.
Mm-mm.
It's like, and if you are entitled, if you think you are entitled for it because you're like, oh, I don't know what you're thinking, but if you think you are entitled to it, then yeah, they kind of frame you like an asshole.
Mm.
It's like this game is small enough, and you are like, this translation sucks because this effect is really like that, and then I read it from somewhere else. It was supposed to work like that.
Uh-uh.
Yada yada. Yeah, I mean it happens to me. I heard about it. There's some stories.
Mm-mm.
For different card games as well. People are like, oh, translation is unreliable here and there, here and there. Well, I bet if you don't have those translation, you won't be able to read your pirated mangas, right?
Oh my goodness. Now I felt
Yeah.
like now I kind of felt bad because the main reason I play like the Japanese Vanguard is also because of that, because the English translation, like they have lots of translation mistakes in the English version of
Yeah,
Vanguard, right? So that's why
yeah,
I kind
that
of
that's
stuck with
also
the
a problem.
Japanese one. Mm-mm.
The lack of quality control for
Mm-mm.
localization. But that shouldn't be the fault. That you can't really blame that on like community translation. It's a product they are trying to sell. If
Mm-mm.
they have problem with the localizations, they should find a way to solve it
Mm-mm.
instead of trying to repeat the mistake over and over again. People
Yeah.
are gonna buy people are gonna buy the card and read, man. If you're gonna make translation error
Mm-mm.
every single time, then what's the point of us playing the localized version?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's not we want to shit on the games.
Yeah.
It's just that if you wanted to make it available for people to play, then you bought it. Then by right you should minimize this type of translation mistakes because people are going to read the card one to one, man. It's like magic. They're going to read the card one to one. Are they going to say, "Oh, this card got errata because there's a translation error"? So you have to refer to this particular web page, in probably section 112 blah 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 blah, and then it will tells you whatever this thing actually does.
Yeah, kind of see your point because also like I saw like kind of like a pattern like whether like how big a game could be like in Germany especially. Like I think like the perception like I think in Asia we have like that unique problem with like the Japanese games. Like Japanese is not definitely not like it is a popular like the culture itself is popular, but learning the language as a whole it's not as popular. But like
Yeah,
English
yeah.
is kind of like a requirement regardless, right? So we kind of like assume that okay, so if the game is in English, then you can just distribute it everywhere. And then I come to Germany, and then I see like the pattern, like why Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic, they can be so big in Germany. To me, like the one of the biggest factors, yeah, that the localization. They all have like a German version of the games. Also with Lorcana, that is coming like literally this weekend as well. So, yeah. And that is something that both Vanguard and Battle Spirit Saga unfortunately does not have for now. So I think that might kind of contribute because okay, so we always forget that after paying for the cards, there are always additional costs that you need to kind of pay when you play trading card games. Like one, like one is time because like you can't really play just one. It's just you cannot really come to the store and just play one session of any game of TCG and then you go home, right? Like you probably going to play like at least 1 to 3 hours, maybe more if you play Magic. And then there's also like again like if the game is not in your language, whether it is English for Europeans or like Japanese for us, it's kind of like okay, so you don't speak the language, you probably cannot read this, or even if you can read it, probably it's going to take time. Like I think that's also why it's kind of like sometimes it's interesting to see the world through Amamiya's eyes, because it's like he's like the first person that I know that he can somewhat speak English, but he don't have like a good mastery of his English. Yeah. So basically, when he reads, it takes more energy for him to read something in English than it is for me. So it's like for me, because I've been reading English for so long that I forgot like I actually cannot. My grammar is actually really bad. My pronunciation is not as well defined as I thought it is. But because I have been speaking, using, reading, writing in English for so long, I was like, okay, my English is good. I have the confidence for that. Like, I have zero doubt that my English is decent. And then I saw Mia and then like, your English doesn't sound bad. But like, how come you have like zero belief in yourself that you can use it? And then like, okay, so his main problem is with listening, right? So reading he needs kind of like time, but it's fine. Writing is also fine, but like listening for him is like the hardest, because like he knows way too many language before English.
But
yeah.
I think it's like the problem where you know the language, you just don't use it enough.
Yeah.
Therefore, it automatically become your default language, your go-to language. It's like knowing the cards, in fact, in the back of your head. You look at the card, you know what to do, you know what to say. I think I think Amamiya, right? Amamiya case is that he knows English. It's just that he didn't use it enough to like immediately recognize what was the context, what was the word that he should be using. He was scrambling around his head trying to get the words out. Then you're probably gonna use it in German, or you could probably use it in Japanese.
Mm-mm.
For a language that is much more familiar with him. I
Mm-mm.
do this with myself as well sometimes. Like let's say if I'm conversing in Chinese with a customer,
Mm-mm.
then most of the time I will have some I will have a little harder times to formulate words and sentences using Chinese. Simply because I use English way more often in my daily life
Mm-mm.
compared to using Mandarin. But I know Mandarin.
Mm-mm.
Mandarin is I'm not bad at it. But I can speak, but the problem is I can't really formulate sentence as fast as I can
Mm-mm.
to immediately respond or just have a proper fluency over
Mm-mm.
the language. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So I think that's the case. Like, probably just not he just doesn't use the language enough. But he
Yeah.
knows how the language works, so he already have a knowledge.
But yeah, I think that's kind of like shows like how far like localization like we kind of like yeah why would we need to translate this anymore, like you can read English, right? Yeah, I think like it's more like yeah we always forget that. Okay, so like back to my kind of goal to draw people who are probably not as invested in TCG in general. So I guess localization kind of helps more to draw this kind of people, because I think like with the Thai version of Vanguard, like with the Bahasa version of Vanguard, like the market that we can actually penetrate is the like the students, right? Like the students who have no prior experience playing these games. They can just introduce it. It's in a language that they can read. It's interesting enough, engaging enough, and then they can kind of adopt it. But yeah,
Yep, yep.
and their parents can read and make sure that it is not something that is going to teach bad stuff for them for now, uh, until they join a shop tournament and become toxic, toxic players. But yeah, still, up to the point, I think it's also easier for the parents to kind of like make a judgment of okay, so my children are having interest in this particular hobby, like should I allow them to invest further into this hobby?
Mm.
Because I think like without that, it's like yeah, why are you like all of this in Japanese? I can't make a judgment like whether this game is fine for you to play. Like because I think my sister struggles with that a lot because my nephew kind of like enters kind of his rebellious phase, like where he kind of like plays games that my sister started to not agree with.
Oh, okay.
So I like yeah, I mean like if you see it from my perspective, it's kind of hard, right? Because I've played almost everything. So kind of like I don't have any other limits anymore, and I'm already an adult, so I can kind of play everything. But like from my sister's perspective, like even not even not even to the point of I mean like language you can there's lots of form of language, right? Like especially in gaming, it's not just the dialogue or the voice. Sometimes it's also like the sound, the feel of the game. Like especially like if your parents don't want you to be like violent and they just saw a gun inside the like a hyper realistic gun inside your game, like I think like without any context, if that parent probably never saw like has no experience video game, I think it's fair for them to be worried, right?
Yeah, I guess there's definitely a certain degree of worry for maybe
Mm-mm.
for parents that never approached this type of medium before.
Mm-mm.
But hey, if a Call of Duty doesn't make you a professional soldier, uh, or Restaurant Empire doesn't make you a professional restaurant manager,
Mm-mm.
then I'm sure video games are just fine.
Yeah, but
It's just
yeah.
that we tend to find something to blame,
Mm-mm.
and we always find the easiest thing to blame on. I think is probably video games.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, sure, like maybe there are people that can get influenced by playing too much video games.
Mm-mm.
Let's say they are too into the games, they blur themselves between reality and fictions,
Mm-mm.
and it can happen. I do say it's just approach with cautious. If you do have people like that around you, then best to advise them to, chill down a bit.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
When I play Vanguard, I don't go to the planet Grey?
Yeah, you play with that. You don't go to planet. You can imagine doing a planet Crane, but you're not actually on planet Crane.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I think I kind of like, how to say? So I think like it's back to, I think, more of the point of, yeah, if the language is something that the parents can understand, then they can kind of make a judgment for their children, right? Before like, I mean, like, with children, they probably cannot make like the better judgment for now until they learn to do it. So
But I
kind of
think
like
it
their
also
parents kind of like have to help them a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But going back to your point is that
Mm-mm.
I probably think that from my opinion, having a local language really makes it much better
Mm-mm.
for everyone because well, like you said, it's a language that you're very familiar with.
Mm-mm.
So while you're learning, at the same time you are strengthening your local language.
Mm-mm.
I'm not sure why a lot of card games they probably do it. I think it's just the cost of localization, or they probably don't see the demographic big enough for them to do it
Mm-mm.
because it costs a lot, to print the card in particular language and not having anyone to buy anything or what.
Yeah.
It, with the translation, the localization cost, with the cost
Mm-mm.
of printing, with the cost of shipment, I bet they are more than happy to just do it in English
Mm-mm.
where they just deem it as an international language.
Mm-mm.
But I don't think it can reach to the wider audience. Maybe somewhere, maybe country that speak English as an international language more
Mm-mm.
often. Then yeah, it can work. One thing I like about card games like Magic the Gathering is they have a lot of language.
Mm-mm.
They have some, in Japanese, in Chinese. Uh, I'm not sure. I think in traditional Chinese, I think they do as well. I'm not too
Mm-mm.
sure. I think outside of English as well, they also have various other different language,
Mm-mm.
which makes it very accessible to everyone. And most importantly, they do not separate it into individual formats.
Mm-mm.
Or like English can only play with English, Japanese can only play with Japanese.
Mm-mm.
Their card painting and everything is very consistent, and
Yeah.
everyone get to play against each other.
Mm-mm.
And that, in my opinion, is amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't see any other type of other card game. Maybe it's Pokemon.
Mm-mm.
Maybe during Pokemon for their worlds, they do mix. Not mix. They do have players from different country holding different language.
Mm-mm.
Uh, but in the casual settings, like Magic, everything is legal to play. It's like, oh, you have this language, it's totally fine. You can use it to play. Or you
Mm-mm.
have this language, it's totally fine. You can put it in your decks.
Yeah.
So long you know the facts or you understand the language itself.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Uh, it's definitely crazy that they pull it off. Then you have like other big card games, like only in Japanese,
Mm-mm.
or like Duel Monsters, Battle Spirits.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Then you have somewhere
Nah.
around like that. They don't really do all that.
Mm-mm.
They strive entirely on the Japanese market.
Mm-mm.
They are the top games in Japanese, but outside of Japan, they are nothing.
Mm-mm.
Like Duel Monsters in my country,
Mm-mm.
uh, probably average 10 or less players.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I'm not sure about other places, but my locals, we only had like 4 players, 4 to 6 players at most. Uh, and that's counting the new players really. It's very hard to introduce people to a very different card game, especially with Duel Masters.
Mm-mm.
With the wall of text they have,
Mm-mm.
because Duel Masters have a lot of interactions.
Yeah.
Then you have to read through the wiki one by one. It's like, who's gonna spend time doing that?
I know, right?
Like, if I want to play, like you say, if I want to play a game,
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't want to play. I wouldn't want to spend half of my time looking at the translation,
Mm-mm.
half of my time playing the game. If anyone can do that, it means you really love the game. It's
Mm-mm.
like, who the hell will waste that much time to
Mm-mm.
learn the card game that not a lot of people play?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that myself is you really, it's like you love the game really. You
Mm-mm.
you show support for the game. You really want to try the game. You're doing what it takes to try and play the game.
Mm-mm.
It's not like it's not to the point where, oh, you know what, this game is not in English or it's
Mm-mm.
in the language that I understand. I just don't bother with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So play people that actually sit back and also play the game.
Mm-mm.
They are the people that really love the game, man. It's like it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter how many people are playing the game. They just want to play,
Mm-mm.
and I feel sad because there's in general there's not much way around for that. You either run special tutorial
Mm-mm.
that can easily convey the tutorial teach the tutorial game
Mm-mm.
that is in Japanese in English, and
Ooh.
you do it in a very concise way that people can understand the game and get interested into the game.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's the number one problem with me.
Mm-mm.
Because a little bit of my background, I work in a card shop.
Mm-mm.
I had over 10 to 11 card games.
Mm-mm.
Three of them is English,
Yeah.
and the rest is Japanese or is something else.
Mm-mm.
And the hardest thing for me to teach people is that I can teach them the basic of the game,
Mm-mm.
but I can't teach them anything further
Mm-mm.
unless I really sit one-on-one with them.
Mm-mm.
Because each of the effects you have to explain,
Yeah.
each of the mechanics you explain,
Mm-mm.
and and the explanation is in Japanese. So how are they supposed to read it?
Mm-mm.
And then if even worse, if let's say the game is like small,
Mm-mm.
outside Japan, then
Yeah.
there's not much English speaking YouTubers that's gonna cover it. And after even if they do,
Mm-mm.
they may or may not be accurate. Because some of them may be relying on information like the wikis,
Mm-mm.
or whatnot. They themselves may not be able to understand Japanese like
Mm-mm.
different fight. Different fight knows how to speak Japanese, so he
Mm-mm.
can do translation on stream, and you
Yeah.
can also do translation for the new review parts, and that makes a whole world difference.
Mm-mm.
That's a very strong skill set to have. But the problem is that not everyone have the time
Mm-mm.
to just sit down and try to do it. If it doesn't align with your current goal in your life, uh, it's kind of weird to just learn the language that you use it for a card game that you may
Mm-mm.
or may not be able to benefit later on. I'm not saying the language is useless. It's more like, are you able to invest the time alongside with the job that I'm doing,
Mm-mm.
and can you juggle between that and this as well?
Oh yeah,
You know, you
definitely.
know, you know about the learning, especially with learning Japanese,
Mm-mm.
and you have to learn. I'm sure that the country is using something like kanji, which is
Mm-mm.
very similar to Chinese characters.
Mm-mm.
But the basic is the hiragana,
Mm-mm.
and I think there's probably one more, but I don't know what was the language, what was the system that we're using. But then
Yeah.
to learn all the basic, it takes time.
Mm-mm.
Then you also have to juggle between your games, your work, your social life, and whatnot. A lot of things come tumbling down, and with learning the language, if you're not disciplined enough, you're probably gonna end up dropping it
Mm-mm.
simply because it kind of hinders with your daily routines.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that if it doesn't align with your goal, you don't see the point of doing it.
Mm-mm.
So it's something along like that on the line. And I don't blame people for not doing that. It's just that it's very tedious.
Mm-mm. Ah, yeah, yeah.
No one is gonna sit down here all one day and say, you know what, I'm gonna do what it takes to translate this game, and
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna learn this language probably around 3 to 6 months that
Mm-mm.
I'm slightly proficient enough to be able to translate the text
Mm-mm.
for the games. And that's great, that's great. But if you're like working adults, and you have to learn this and that, oh, that
Oh,
is not easy. And if you're able to do that, power to you, and
yeah.
respect. Yeah, really respect.
Especially, yeah, since if you change language, then the grammar is different, and then that is actually like the hardest part. You have to,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Even with the similarity between kanjis and the Mandarin text,
Mm-mm.
like there are certain texts that even if you do not know what it means in Japanese,
Mm-mm.
we can tell what it means simply because the text is the same,
Mm-mm.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we don't know the fundamentals.
Mm-mm.
So you don't know the systems, the language systems. So
Mm-mm.
even if you know like the similarity within the language, you may or may not know what they are saying.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so that's kind of thing that kind of sucks.
Yeah, same. Well, like that's why I still can't speak German fluently after 4 years, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely trying not to give an excuse on why I don't speak German, but yeah.
yeah, but at least you can speak, man. How old are you?
Uh,
Yeah, you can understand when people curse you in Germany.
yeah. Yeah, because they don't really cuss. I think of course like because like when you are learning a language, like surprisingly like one of the easiest way to like not the easiest way, it's probably like it's mentally easy to accept like okay, so I want to learn the pronunciation, I want to learn to act like the cool kids, I want to know how to swear in your language. And then you come to
That
both, yeah, and then you come to both German and Japanese and they don't have anything. Because they simply don't, I don't, both culture simply doesn't really have like a culture to cuss. I think like in German, like while there you can kind of like directly translate the swear words in English to German. Like culturally, they don't really use that to swear on other people.
but they do have curse word.
Only one, and then it's kind of like their curse word basically like it doesn't literally translate to this, but like contextually it translates in English into it is what it is. So
Oh,
so the cuss words is not directed at someone or something.
it's
It
not
is
an
just to
insult.
yeah. It is just to state that okay, so the situation sucks, but yeah, that is the fact that we need to accept. The situation sucks. That's it.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I thought
So,
you get a curse.
yeah. I hope so, but yeah, no. Sadly no. I think like even
Like,
in German, like yeah, you can kind of like use like some words that means kind of like literally translates to how to say like the cuss words, but like normally speaking, like unless you are really angry because the culture kind of like asks you to be repressed, kind of like keep the harmony with other people. Like you don't do this casually, right? Like you use the curse words if you are really angry, like that person just ran over your dog, then that's probably the moment where you get the curse words out. But like unless it is something that fatal, like someone just bump into you in the station, probably they will just say, ah, whatever.
wow, that
Yeah,
was so polite.
at most they will probably just passive aggressively remind them, okay, yeah, please be careful. Please be careful. Please watch where you're looking at. Yeah, I don't think they just do it casually. I mean, like
Mm.
mostly we know the curse words. It's mostly from like action animes where they are like fighting to the death. They're in the brink of their death and they are like cursing the opponent because like, yeah, you just killed my friend. I will now try to do the same to you. Or like in media where it mostly involves people who are not in the higher social ladder. Like they climb the social ladder in a different direction and then things works out for them. Yeah, you
Oh,
know.
yeah. Well, that was very polite.
Yeah. At least that's what I learned so far. Like I mean, like from my friends. Like I think they don't have the curse words. So if you don't like someone, then you just basically just use sarcasm to. I don't think they
Oh,
really have sarcasm, but you can if you really hate someone, but it is not to the point where it is really hurting you. I think they will just resort to kind of like, yeah, that person sucks in it.
oh,
Kind of
so
like,
that's very polite.
yeah.
It's like you have usually with curse word is like one size fit all.
Mm-mm.
Like this particular curse word will just fit in any type of situations.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it, doesn't that mean they're gonna curse them in long, comprehensive sentences?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, if I don't like this person, I will just say, "Oh, with the quality of your kind, I will be ashamed to be standing right beside you."
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Whoa, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think for the Japanese, if they are just angry, they will just go to that level. It's like, yeah, if only I didn't run into you today, that would have been the nicest thing to happen to me today. I think like that is the impression that is not what they think. That is the impression that I got, uh, from observing the media and Twitter.
Ah,
Mm-mm.
yeah,
Or
okay.
yeah, or you just
Yeah.
use like the non-verbal like they just directly use like the non-verbal strong actions. Like if you don't like someone on Twitter, you just block them. It's like not even to the point that they are doing having a view that is opposite from you, especially since Japan is also still in Asia, so they are more collectivist even from compared to us Southeast Asians. So they are like they don't want to stick out, right? So they don't really have they rarely have strong opinions. But like when people like have like some sort of strong opinion, sometimes can take someone and then they will just block it. Like it might not be the worst opinion. There is like if like especially like I am friend with Guren, right? And then he is like the kind of guy who was like he'll just talk shit. I think that's why he is like don't have lots of fans, but yeah. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
I find
So,
like
Kai,
I find like
oh,
yeah.
sorry. You're saying?
I find like if you just have like some sort of strong opinion in Japan, like it's enough for someone to kind of like, I don't like you, I will block you, I don't want to see you anymore, kind of thing.
Maybe having strong opinion in Japan is the non-meta way.
Yeah.
Because in my understanding for Japan culture, based on documentaries that I have watched, their system gravitates towards people that don't spoke against the system. So everyone kind of just move in the emotion. They don't like people that stand out. Yeah, maybe in Guren's case he was standing out a lot with his opinion, and it just causes people to be repulsive simply because of the way their culture works.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a strong opinion in Malaysia, I think at most you'll probably get is like either another strong opinion coming at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk
Or
this
a,
out.
or a full on fist fight.
Yeah, we're gonna fight. We're gonna play, man. We're gonna
Yeah.
flame each other. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
You know
not
what?
even a fist fight. Like the whole gang will just come and we are going to have like clash between cities or something.
Yeah. It's very funny. You don't want to
Yeah.
mess with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like I went like last time I went to the Grand Open, we just did like a really short thing, and then today I was like thinking of kind of like just getting a short conversation about like how we are preparing for the Grand Open, but I think instead we move to tangents that are actually pretty interesting, but it is that interesting that we kind of like get sidetracked a lot. So but yeah, if you guys want us to, if you guys think like there are some topics that we have talked about but have not resolved, you want us to talk further about, or there are other topics that you guys want to touch us about. I mean, like, you know that we have all sorts of people now in the channel. Like, I'm a normal player. I have a quote-unquote normal player. We have Ayumu, who has been doing lots of the community stuff. We have Wilson, who is on the front line working in the shops. We have Amamiya, the biggest consumer of us all. So if you have anything particular you want to us to talk about, you can always let us know at our email at therefreshsteppodcast@gmail.com. So yeah, I guess that has been everything from us for this week. I hope that you guys have a nice week going forward, and we'll see you all in the next turn. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Yay.